Hello everyone, Jen here, with a new episode of Shogun out titled Broken to the Fist. We reached the halfway point of the show. I want to warn once again that this review contains spoilers up to episode 5, but it won't include anything from outside sources, such as the book. I'm not really sure what expectations I brought to this episode, but it ended up shocking me in multiple ways. There was more humor in this episode than any of the previous ones, and yet it got way darker than the ones before, except for perhaps episode 1. The episode really made you go into John Blackthorne's shoes, as some totally crazy things happened to him. We learn how truly dysfunctional some parts of Japanese culture can be, and we feel John's culture shock as he realizes this place really isn't for him. Perhaps at some point he felt some allure to Japan when he started appreciating the people and the culture. But the big thing of this week was what little regard the Japanese held for their own lives, and that both life and death are just tools used to control each other. The first shock that John has is when Buntaro, Mariko's husband, who seemed to have died in episode 3, returns from the grave, so to speak, and he demonstrates extreme cruelty to his wife. First, he nearly kills Mariko with a bow while in a drunken stupor, and then forces Mariko to reveal her fugitive background, and that Buntaro's kept her for years from redeeming herself, either by seeking revenge or justice, or even killing herself. We learn the true shadow over Mariko, that her father had been a dishonored assassin and had to witness her whole family slaughtered for his deeds. Buntaro orders her to live as his wife as a form of torture, not as a source of relief. John is stunned that Mariko accepts this arrangement and that she won't stand up for herself. But Mariko instead accuses him of being in a cage for wanting freedom. Self-control is so ingrained in her that she forgets what drew her to John in the first place, the fact that he gave her an actual sense of value. The second shock is when John put the pheasant up on his property and was letting it rot for whatever reason. I still don't know why he was doing this, if it was a joke or if he really intended to prepare the rotten flesh for a meal later. Either way, he declares to everyone that if it were to be touched and taken down, whoever does it must die. But he only said that because his language was limited and just wanted to insist on being obeyed. But through a series of unfortunate misunderstandings, Uejiro, the gardener, decides to give his life to get rid of that bird since the villagers didn't want it disturbing the peace of the village anymore. So a kindly man dies needlessly because John wasn't aware of their distress and didn't know that they were taking his words literally. So these two events totally disgust John, and so he asks Lord Toranaga to relieve him of his duty as Haramoto so that he can leave Japan for good. John cannot handle the fact that these people throw their lives away so needlessly in the society, and there's so little regard for human life. Toranaga scorns John for being the childish one, but honestly, I feel like their lack of respect for John is the reason why any of this happened, because they couldn't bother to explain these nuances of their culture to him. Then, almost in a stroke of fate, as soon as Toranaga and Mariko dismiss John for his feelings, a great earthquake and landslide happens, injuring and killing many in the clan army and village. Toranaga himself almost dies, only for John to save him yet again, and redeems him of the dishonor of losing his swords by giving his own. It was an ironic scene because Mariko had told John earlier that the swords were actually from a coward, and only Mariko and John knew that at this time. Everything that John does seems to put the Japanese to shame. One of my favorite scenes was how John fixes the rock garden after the landslide, the garden that Uejiro had tended. Even if no one cares for each other here, John will, and he refuses to deny people their humanity, no matter their class. However, if he's not careful, his compassionate heart may be turned against him in the future. If John has learned anything, it's that his word and actions give people value, not just his feelings. This show isn't meant to have fantasy elements, but when the landslide happened, it felt like a bad omen on Toranaga's clan for them putting John down. I wonder if they'll go into that in more depth in the next episode, but we'll have to see. Otherwise, I felt like this episode was really emotionally stunning, and while it made me depressed to watch, it was a great way to end the halfway point of this show. Were you guys also shocked by this episode? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.